Michelle. Thanks so much for joining me today. We're going to be making a fun set of cards today that you can give as a gift. We're going to be making a fun little folder that you can put them in and share with someone. Perhaps you've got someone that doesn't make cards and they love your handmade cards. You can give them as gifts so that they can send them out to their recipients, their loved ones. So let's go ahead and go down to the table and let's get started. We're going to start out with our first card today. I've got a side fold A2 size card. This is one of our pre-cut, pre-scored card bases. Nice heavyweight 110-pound card bases. I've cut out a base layer out of our coffee shop, really dark brown cardstock, and it's about the size of the card. It isn't perfectly cut, but I don't need it to be. It was kind of a scrap piece, but I found that it will work. I just need to be able to cover it with our Plaid cover dies. We've got panel A and panel B. One is a little more intricate and detailed, and then one is more just a little bold and open, but they coordinate together and make a beautiful multicolored plaid background. So I'm going to go ahead and glue these together and glue them down to that card panel. I'm using our Easy Squeeze craft glue, which you can get a nice thin line of glue right out of the bottle. So there's our first plaid panel down, and next we'll glue the more delicate one. All right, and there's our card panel. Our little glue bits here will dry clear, so that's fine. I love that plaid. So let's move on to our second piece. I've got one of our thick banner dies cut out of pebble cardstock, which is kind of like a craft brown. And I've got one of our rub-ons. All of our cards we're going to be making with our sunflower rub-ons. They have beautiful, encouraging sentiments on them. This one says, be the reason someone smiles today. I love that. So that's going to go on to our Pebble cardstock here. So I've cut out the image I want to use, and that's what you do with the sheet of rub-ons. They come out with 2 sheets in a package, and there's 9 of these sentiments on a sheet for a total of 18. So you cut out the image that you want, including the release paper behind it. But I'm going to remove that. We don't need that anymore because now we're ready to apply our rub-on. So I'm going to place it down where I want it on my cardstock. And it's a little bit sticky or tacky on the back, not real sticky. And then they come with a popsicle stick. You can also use your bone folder, the handle of our fine tip tweezers. There's a variety of things that you can use. Just something hard and rounded to rub these on. And I just start in a corner and I'm applying a good amount of pressure. You want to apply good pressure to get the image completely rubbed on. And I'm just going to go around the entire image. I'm kind of holding it down with my left hand so it doesn't shift on me or anything. And I'll just rotate it and start to rub this part of the image. I remember using rub-ons years ago, and they're coming back around and becoming popular again, but they've really come a long way with how they're made and how they work. So now that I have that rubbed on, or what I think is rubbed on, I like to start at a corner. I'm going to zoom in just here a little bit so you can see a little carefully. I'm going to start at a corner and I'm going to start to peel this away. And as I'm peeling, I can see I did not get all my image rubbed on. So I'm just going to put it right back down and I'm going to rub again. Start to peel up the corner. And we can just rub those spots that didn't adhere. So I kind of lift and rub, unless the entire is transferred. I just keep doing that until it's all down. Then you can peel up, and you see I have 2 little specks there that I noticed they didn't transfer. So I'm just going to put them right back where they go on the image. You can place them right back down. And just rub them in. So now we have a clear little sheet where our image was. And we have our nicely transferred image onto our cardstock. So now we're ready to add this to the card. I'm just going to put it to the side like that. And I want to add a little ribbon accent to this card. I love adding ribbon to my card. I think it just adds that extra little texture that you need. So I'm going to take my ribbon, and on the back, just the 2 ends, I'm just going to add some adhesive. Side folded up on me. Let me get it straightened back out. just going to put the ribbon where I want it on the card and then wrap around the back edges and adhere it to the back. And now we're ready to glue our card panel down to our card base. I love using our liquid glue because I have a few seconds to shift or shimmy this piece into place before I permanently stick it down. Here's our card so far. I love that. All the colors coordinate with the colors that are in the rub-ons. And I'm going to take my second piece of ribbon. I'm just going to thread it up underneath the ribbon that's on the card. I'm going to add a dot of glue where I want the knot to stay, and then I'm just going to tie a simple knot. Loop that one side underneath so that the polka dots stay on the top. Just press it down into the glue, and then all I have to do is just trim off some of that excess ribbon. Just like so. And now we have one card ready to go. I've got some sequins out because for our next card, we're gonna make a shaker card. So I've got one of our pre-scored A2 side folding card bases. I've got one of our A5 small shaker covers. I've got another little piece of our craft brown or pebble cardstock. I've got my rub-on image. Got a piece of paper from our Hello Fall pattern papers and a piece of orange cardstock that I've cut 4 by 5 1/4 with a scalloped rectangle die. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to glue the scalloped rectangle die to my card base. That's going to be the background for our shaker card. Oops. There we go. That's a nice little backdrop for our shaker cover. Some people ask me why I lay my glue down like this flat on the table. And the reason is while I'm using it, I want my glue to stay towards the tip of the glue bottle. If I keep standing it back up, the glue drops back down to the bottom. You tip it to use it, and you have to wait or squeeze it down to the tip. So I like to lay mine down while I'm working, and it keeps that glue where I want it in the bottle. Okay, so next we're going to prepare our shaker cover. Our shaker covers come in several different sizes. We even have circular ones to create some fun shaker pouches. And it's one of the easiest ways to create a shaker card. I've got out my pick up and place tool. I've got the pokey tool on one end, and I'm going to use that because we have a protective film on our shaker cover. So I'm just going to poke and scratch at the corner here because I want to get that protective coating off the front of my shaker cover. Sometimes it just takes a few seconds to get started. And then you'll see you just peel off that protective coating. That's there just to make sure your shaker cover stays nice and clean and shiny. I'm folding the flaps of the shaker cover towards the back, towards the part with the adhesive. So I create like a little box. Then I'm going to put it face down on my table. And I'm going to put my pattern paper inside. The packaging for the shaker covers tell you what size to cut your paper that goes on the inside. I'm going to remove the release paper from the adhesive, all while holding it flat to the table. I want to keep it nice and flat. I'll turn it around and do the second side. And then I will do a third side, but we don't want to jump ahead and do the fourth just yet because we want to create a pocket to put our sequins in. And as I'm creating this, I just realized that I wanted to glue this on the inside of here. So I'm going to go ahead and slide it in. So I apologize, I went a little ahead of myself. I want this on the inside, and I will show you why in a few minutes. We're going to do something fun with our rub-on, something a little different. But I'm pretty sure, since I still have one opening, that I can slide this in where I want it. I just wanted it about there towards the bottom. But see, I wanted it on the inside of my shaker cover. So if you want to glue this on the to your paper before you put it in your shaker cover, that's the way to go if you make the card just like I do. Okay, so now we've got our pocket. See, we've got our opening. We left that fourth side open, and we're going to slide our sequins inside. I'm just using some of our confetti sequins. These are from a previous Crafty Courtyard kit, one of our subscription kits, but we have lots of colors of confetti sequins on the website. So just add a little bit of those to our pocket and take a look at how that looks. Maybe I'll add a few more. It's totally subjective of how many sequins you add. You can add as little or as much as you want. Yeah, I think I like that a little better. So now we're going to turn our shaker cover back over, and we're going to remove the release paper from that fourth flap, the adhesive there, and we're going to fold it down onto our paper. Now we have our fun shaker pocket. How cool is that? And how easy was that? So here's something fun and different. You can add our rub-ons to acetate. So we're going to put our rub-on the top of the shaker cover. We're not adding it to the paper on the inside. We're going to put it so it shows on the outside. So again, I've cut out the image I want to use. And I'm going to place it over that brown cardstock. And we're going to do the same thing we did with the first one and the paper, and we're just going to rub that image onto the shaker cover. And then when you're ready to check it, I just peel up one corner or one side, and wherever it didn't adhere down, I just put that right back down in place and rub it on. going to shake or tap a few of these sequins that are right underneath my rub-on. They make it just a little harder to rub on when you've got sequins under there. And you can almost see it lifting away from the plastic. You can see the plastic going clear, and you can see the image transferring down onto the paper, or in this case, the shaker cover. All right, so we can throw away the top part. And now we've got this on top of our shaker cover. It says Rise, Shine, Smile, and Love with that nice little sunflower. And we can shake, shake, shake. And you can still see the image on the top there. So fun. Now we want to adhere this to our card front. We want to use a nice strong adhesive, so I like to use our Easy Tear tape in the 1/2 inch size. Super strong adhesive tape, but it's also easy to tear with your hand. You don't have to have your scissors out or get them all gunky with adhesive. Just pull off what we want and tear it by hand. Now that we have our tape on, I just remove the release paper, which also does come off quite easily. If you don't have any fingernails to get it off, you can use like our pick up and place tool or our fine tip tweezers. That will also help you to get the release paper. But it just peels right up away from the tape. Let's make sure I get the sentiment going in the proper orientation for our card. There, I love that. So fun, and I love that that rub-on image is on the top of the shaker cover. For our next card, we're going to do a little bit of foiling. You know me, I love to foil. I love the look of foiled papers. I already had my ink machine turned on in the back, so we're just going to turn it to number 3. I'm going to grab my transfer folder that I keep there under my machine. We're going to be foiling 2 panels. We're going to get 2 for 1 out of our foil. Alright, so we're first going to foil this panel, the sunflowers from our Bees and Sunflower foilable sheets. And I'm just going to take my foil dusting brush and I'm going to dust that off. We're also going to be using one of our color toner sheets from our Ombre Set 1 pack. I'm going to dust that off, and I'm going to dust the back of my foil just a tad too, just to remove any dust or debris, pet hairs, anything like that. We don't want to interfere with our foiling. Our foil dusting brushes will be back in stock very shortly. I'm going to put the foilable inside the transfer folder and then add the foil on top, pretty side up. And I'm using our Fairy Wings Peach foil for this. It's beautiful coppery peach holographic finish foil. All right, we'll take those both out of the transfer folder, but we want to let it cool off before we do the fun peel and reveal. That's my favorite part. So once this is cool to the touch, we just peel and reveal. We have a negative pattern in our foil, and that's actually what we're going to be using for our card. So we also have this beautiful holographic peach sunflower piece, but we're going to set this aside. We're not going to use it for this card today. I want to transfer these beautiful sunflowers onto our colored toner sheet. So we lay our foil pretty side up onto the colored toner sheet and put it in the transfer folder. I like to turn it over to the back and line up my pattern on the back because I can more easily see the design that's in the foil on the back. And then we can send that through. It doesn't matter if you send your foil and foilable through upside down or right side up. There are 2 heated rollers in the machine that are going to heat and add pressure from both sides. And once that is through, again, we'll pull this out and let it cool. I'm going to slide that under my machine. Now let's do our peel and reveal, and look at that. We've used the entire piece of foil, and we have added those gorgeous sunflowers to that ombre kind of teal blue background. So pretty. All right, so we'll save that to add to our card. Let's go ahead and do our rub-on really quick. I've got one that says grow through what you go through. And we're just going to be applying that onto a piece of white cardstock that I've cut with a little stitch square. And behind it, I've cut our layered scallop square dies. So they look kind of funny and bumpy, but when you rotate them and line them up together, you get fun rotating scallops in alternating colors around the edges. The square on top, you can see those fun little different color scallops. So let's add our rub-on. I just want to get it centered on my square piece. And we're just going to rub the image onto the paper. And start to peel up at a corner. All right, we peel our paper off the top. We have our grow through what you go through. Fun little rub-on on there. And now I'm just going to glue this piece down to our layered scallop frames. And then glue our layered scallop pieces together. How cute is that with those little alternating yellow and brown scallops? Now we can start to put our card together. Get our piece to go right through the middle there. But I want to add another piece of ribbon to this card. Like I said, I love adding ribbon to card. I just like that extra texture that it adds. So I'm going to have my little rectangle piece sort of up towards the top there, and I want my ribbon to go just kind of at the bottom of that piece, but underneath it. So I'll put the ribbon about there. That's kind of midway, almost, it looks. And then we could glue this panel down to the card. I love that. Look at those beautiful foiled sunflowers all day. Now for this piece, I want to pop it up for a little dimension on the card. So I'm going to grab my roll of foam tape. And I'll just cut a piece off in case I need it for something else also. Our foam tape is 1/16 of an inch thick by 3/8 of an inch wide, and you get 108 feet on the roll. So it's not too thick that you can't mail it without any trouble. So I'm going to place that about right there. Oh, I love that. And then I'll add a little glue to the ribbon right here, and I'm going to slide my other piece of ribbon underneath and tie a simple knot. And then once again, we'll just trim some of that excess ribbon, just like so. Simple, but that foil just really bumps it up. I love the addition of the ribbon going across underneath there, those little layered scallops. Very nice. I'm gonna go ahead and turn our ink machine off. Got our next card. I'm doing all A2 side folding cards. Got a few layers here. I'm just pulling papers that coordinate really nicely with the colors in the rub-on. So I've got a nice dark orange as a base layer, and then I've got a lighter orange glitter paper from our glitter paper pack. I've got a multicolored stripe. This is from our Hello Fall, and I'm just going to go ahead and glue these layers together. So my dark orange piece is the size of the card. So it is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then my glitter paper is going to be 1 inch smaller than that. So I have a nice 1/2 inch border around. And then 1/4 inch smaller than that, I cut the stripe piece. So we have a little 1/8 of an inch border of our glitter paper. Just to add some more color and interest to the card, I've cut 2 1/4 inch strips of our coffee shop brown. And I'm just going to put them up and down like so on this left hand side. And now we can glue this panel to our card base. Again, it's the size of the card base, so it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And that's the base for our card. I've got our rub-on image. This one is "In a world full of roses, be a sunflower." And I've cut out a scallop circle with our scallop circle dies in this nice yellowy orange. This is our school bus cardstock. And then I've cut out of the stitch circle die, I've cut the coordinating circle out of Pebble, which is our craft colored cardstock. I'm just going to remove the release paper from the back of our rub-on. And then place it where I want it on the circle. And then we're going to rub it on. And as you can see, I kind of hold up the corner or edge of the top layer of the rub-on, and I just kind of rub against where I'm lifting, and then you can see if it's transferring down and put it right back down and rub that last bit on. There we go. There we have it. Love it. So now let's glue this down to our scallop circle. And I'm going to use some more foam tape to adhere this down to the card so it has a little dimension. Just going to put it right in the center of the card, just like so. I love that. I think the only thing it needs is a little more sparkle and shine. I'm going to add some of our sticky gems. This is the oranges, so I have 3 shades of orange on here. I'm just going to add a few of these. And if you notice, I like to put them right up against where I want to add them on my card, and then I just slide the gem like right off the card, the clear piece of card that it's on, onto my card where I want it. There we go. Just a little added shimmer there. Hope you're still hanging in there with me. We're just going to make a couple more little cards for our gift package, and then we're going to put the gift package together. So here, I have already rubbed on the image for this one, Stay Humble and Kind. I did that on a white cardstock that I cut out of our Zigzag circle die. And then I just cut a straight edge here at the bottom of the rub-on. So instead of a full circle, you kind of get like a semicircle. And I've got some papers here. So from our year-round dots and stripes, I cut with our stitch rectangle dies a panel from the green. So on one side it's dots and one side it's stripes. So I thought it would be fun to flip it and use stripes at the bottom and dots at the top. And then we're going to have our semicircle here, and then we'll put down a strip of orange and a strip of brown cardstock to go across the middle. Like so, and then we'll add a little bit of ribbon. So I'm going to glue the green pieces down to the card base first. Okay, and the reason I split it down here like this, your eye likes things in thirds. So you imagine this top portion is like 2/3 of the card, and then we have 1/3 of the card down here. That's just very pleasing to your eye to split it into thirds, or your eye likes odd numbers. So I'm going to glue my tan piece of cardstock onto this dark orange. So the tan is about 3/4 of an inch thick, and the orange is 1 inch thick by 4 inches wide. It's going to go across our green panel. But before we do that, we're going to take a piece of ribbon. Again, I'm going to just put some adhesive on the back ends, both ends. And we're going to wrap it around this piece, just right in the center of the piece. I like to always add something if you have two patterns going together on your card. I like to always add either paper or ribbon or some kind of border right there. So it just kind of breaks them up a little bit. So now we're going to glue these strips down to the card base. And then next we can glue our little semi-zigzag circle. And I'm going to just butt that right up against our orange strip of paper going across. I'm going to take my ribbon and slide it underneath the ribbon that's on the card front. Again, I like to put a little dot of adhesive where I'm going to tie my knot. It just holds it in place. Never been really good at tying fancy bows, but I can tie a simple knot, and I really like how it looks on my cards. And then we'll just trim the edges of the ribbon. And there you have really simple card design, but comes out really cute. I think the last thing we need on this one as well is some of these orange sticky gems. I'm going to use the dark orange this time. And there you go. Love it. All right, one more card. One more card. I want to save my little hearts. I purposely saved a few of my hearts there. So I've got our polka heart die that I used to cut this teal glitter paper from one of our glitter paper packs, and I've got a piece of orange cardstock to layer behind it. So I'm going to go ahead and glue these together. Sometimes I find if I stand them up on the table and line them up, they're easy to get nice and straight and even, glued together. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and glue these down to our card base. So our polka heart die is the size of an A2 card, so it's a nice cover die. It'll cover the whole front of an A2 card. Let's stand that up and line it up there, very nice. Love that. Blue and orange go so well together. Nice complementary colors. And next thing is I've cut 2 of our oblong oval dies, one out of dark orange and one out of white cardstock. I'm going to go ahead and put our rub-on image on the white cardstock, and I'm going to put it over to the left-hand side a little more. Get it just how I want it. I'm going to throw away the release paper, and then we're going to rub this image on. One little part of my H didn't adhere, so I'm going to put it back and just rub that on. There we go. Can throw away that piece. And now we have our image. Always see the bright side. I love that. There's always a bright side to look for. So I'm going to glue the white oblong stitched oval onto the orange one. I'm just going to center them together. And then we're going to glue it down to the card, kind of going off the side, because I'm going to trim this off. I just want that nice little oval going over. And whenever you're adhering paper to glitter paper, you want to use a nice strong adhesive, because that glitter paper has texture to it, you know, the glitter on it. So you want something that'll hold to that texture, to the glitter. And then I am going to trim that off, but I'm going to let some of that glue dry first. I want to add some of these little blue hearts that are from the die cut. This would be fun to save for like your shaker cards. And I'm just going to add a couple of them. So I'm going to put a little dot of glue where I want to add my hearts. Let's start with 3 and see how that looks. To pick up those little paper hearts, I'm going to use our Pick Up and Place tool. We have the wax tip on the opposite side from the pokey tool, and it's great for picking up small little die cut pieces of paper like this to add to your project. Here we go. So I'll just replace the cap when I'm done. Let's see how this came out. Got a little excess glue around this one, but it will dry clear. I'll just wipe a little bit of that excess away. And then I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to trim the edge of that off. And there we go. Super simple but super cute card. I love the addition of those little extra hearts there from the die. Now that we've made our cards for our little gift set, we've done our rub-ons, made our cards, we're going to create a folder for them. So I've got a cheat sheet there. I've already created one side of the inside of the folder, and we'll do the other side together. Okay? First, I used a 12 by 12 sheet of paper to make my cover. Now I'm making a thick folder. You can size down the measurements a little bit if you don't want your folder quite this thick. But what I've got here is this is a 12-inch piece of paper by 6 1/4 tall. You can also use 8 1/2 by 11 and just make it 11 by 6 1/4. You'll just have a narrower spine here, and you can add fewer cards. We have quite a few cards to add to our folio, so I wanted it to be nice and thick. So again, this is 12 by 6 1/4. You're going to go in from the edge 5 inches and make a score line. You're going to go in from this side 5 inches and make a score line. So this 5 inches in, score, this 5 inches in and score. Okay? And that's how we make our simple little folder cover. I'm going to go ahead and decorate the cover. I wanted to have a pretty cover on the front of it to match the cards that are on the inside. So I cut a piece of orange cardstock to fit, and then this nice stripe to fit within it. And we can go ahead and glue this down to the front. So if this is 5 by 6 1/4, I've cut this down 4 1/2 by 5 3/4. Okay, that'll give us a nice border. And then cut the stripe paper 1/4 inch less than that. We'll center that. And then very similar to a card that we did on the inside, but this time just slightly different. So I've cut a strip that's just as tall as our pieces there. It's about 3/4 of an inch thick. And I've cut one just as wide as our pieces, the same 3/4 of an inch thick. And I'm just going to cross them there at the bottom. So there's our cover so far. I've already rubbed on our image onto this tan piece of cardstock. In a world full of roses, be a sunflower. And we're going to glue that right down in the corner over where our little cardstock crosses. There, so now we have a nice little cover for our folder that matches and coordinates with our cards that are going to go on the inside. So let's make the inside pockets that our cards are going to go in the folder. So I've got 2 pieces. You're going to need 2 pieces of cardstock. I'm using our Wildflowers, which is nice dark orange. And you want this to be 7 3/4 by 5 inches. So this is 7 3/4 long by 5 inches tall. From each side, the long side here, we're going to go in 1/2 inch and we're going to score from each side. So just go in each side 1/2 inch and score, and then 1.5 inch and score. So go in from the side, 1/2 inch, make a score line up and down. 1.5 inch, make a score line. And then you just, from the opposite side, same thing, 1/2 inch and 1.5 inch. And then along the bottom, we're going to do 1/2 inch and 1.5 inch. Okay, can you see my score lines? I hope they show up on the camera. And then we're going to cut the bottom like so. Looks a little crazy, but I'm going to show you how we're going to cut those, okay? So I've kind of scratched out a diagram here. This is my cheat sheet, how to cut that. We're going to cut the whole corner off of our card on those score lines that we've created. So when I make the cut, you'll see. See there? See how we've just cut 1/2 inch off here and off the bottom, following the score lines. So you should have 2 little pieces like that we've cut. Now we're going to go to the other side and we're going to repeat and do the same thing. We're just cutting on those 1/2 inch score lines, removing a 1/2 inch around the bottom corner. Okay, so far doing okay. See the bottom of mine? It's going to look like that. So now we need this little part right here. We need it to be a flap that kind of bends on its own. So I'm going to take on the score line right here. There's a little square. Your score lines create a square right here, okay? And from the bottom, I'm going to go up and just cut on that score line up to the score line that's right here. So see, now I can bend this. It's like a little flap here at the end, 1 inch little flap. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So now I've just created these little tabs here, one on each side. Excuse me, one on each side. So little loose tabs. But they're a little cumbersome because we're going to fold them into our folder. or our little pocket. So we want to take a little bit off the edge. And you don't have to be real precise here, but I'm just cutting little triangles off the edge. See, like this, to make a flap that will fold in, but it's not going to rub on either side of the paper. So you just take from the corner and just cut up a slit to get little triangles off that side. You see, this side is done right here. Now we're going to do this one. So I'm just going to take from the corner and I'm going to cut up. I got a little sticky scissors from cutting that last card. So now it will look like this. So I've got both of mine that look like that. So the little tabs. So now we're just going to fold and we're going to create our pocket. So I fold on the 1/2 inch. I fold on the 1.5. I do the same on this side. Okay, so I've got my sides folded in. Here's these little tabs. We're going to fold them in, and then you're going to fold up and up. Create almost like a little box. See how we create like a little box like that? All right, so on these little tabs that we cut, these little tabs here on the side that folds in, I'm going to add some glue. Just to those little tabs. That's the only place we want to add glue right now. Okay, and then we'll fold in again, fold in our sides. I'm going to fold the tabs down. And then that bottom is going to sit on the tabs. So I can actually go to the inside here and press down until my glue dries. Make a little box. Fold it and press down. These are the type of projects where you could use like a 3rd or 4th hand, right? Okay, so we've got like our little pocket here now. I'm going to put just a little glue on this bottom piece right here that folds up and attaches just in the corner, like just a little glue in the corner. So now we have a little box with an open back, like this little box, but the back is open. And you can use liquid glue for adhering these. That'll hold nice and strong once you let it dry. Or you could use like our Easy Tear tape in the 1/4 inch to put along here. That'll hold nice and strong as well. You just want to use a nice strong adhesive. Now I'm going to set that one aside and I'm going to go ahead and glue the next one and create our second little open box. Remember, we fold our sides in, put the tabs down, and then fold the bottom up onto those tabs. And then I'm going to add a little bit of glue just to the bottom corners where it's going to fold up and meet the sides. Now that we have our two little open boxes, these are the pockets for our cards for the inside of our folder. So I'm going to open up our folder to the inside, and I'm going to put glue or tape adhesive along these edges here. Okay? So I'm just going to add adhesive to these 1/2 inch edges. And then we're going to just put it down inside our folder. I'm giving it just a little bit of a border, tiny border on each side. I've got a tiny bit of yellow here, a tiny bit of yellow here, so it's within the folder. And there's a tiny bit of yellow on this side in front of the score line. So this is what it looks like from here. See, I've got that pocket glued down there. And we're just going to do the exact same thing on this side. We just want our glue along these 1/2 inch borders. I want to keep my little border of yellow on each side. Let's see, it's just going down like this. And then when it folds, you see both our pockets inside. How fun is that? So now we've got a folder with two little pockets on the inside. You could even, if you wanted to, you could attach ribbon underneath this panel and around the back, and you could tie it with a big bow here that would hold it closed. But now we have our little folder for our cards. This makes such a cute little gift. So let's take a look at the cards we're going to add inside again one more time. Let me gather them here. So we made 6 cards for our little folio. We've got our plaid one, our shaker card. We've got our little polka hearts. We've got our green one. Got this one here. And we have our foiled card. These are gorgeous little cards that we're going to add to our folio. give them as gifts. Of course, you'll want to add your envelopes too. Don't forget to slide your envelopes in as well. There's plenty of room in here for our 3 cards and 3 envelopes on each side. You see how the cards sit in there so nicely? Go ahead and put these on this side. All right, and I don't have my envelopes here at the table, but I'm definitely going to add 6 envelopes in here as well. You can decorate the inside of this with some patterned paper, some more rub-ons. You can definitely decorate it up as much as you like. But look at that. Look how cute that is. I can't wait to give this to a friend at the holidays so that they have some nice cards to give to their loved ones in this cute little folder. And super simple and easy to make. Thanks so much again for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed the set of cards that we created and the little folder that you can put them in and give them as a gift and share with your loved ones. I hope it inspires you to pull out your supplies and make some of your own. You can find all these items and more at pinkandmade.com or ask your local retailer. And until next time, my friends, keep living the creative life.